I mean, you think of anyone's typical resolution, like one you'll always see is people saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to the gym more often." It's
Hmm.
like it always feels like this thing that you want to change about yourself because for some reason you feel like it's wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. And while we can all improve, right? I believe the same thing. It's like you start to think, well, it's if you're starting the year off on a foot of there's something wrong with me, and in order to do what I want to do this year or have things that happen, I have to like change myself. Now, like I said, in some ways that's true, but the last several years, especially, well, with human design, but even before that, it changed my way of thinking. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, your human design guide.
And I'm Haley on this journey with you to uncover the power of human design.
Together, we're here to explore how embracing your authentic self is the ultimate path to a life of more freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Well, hello, Haley. How are you?
Hi, good.
So nice to see you. I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever. I was thinking about it last night, knowing
It's
we were
been a
going to
couple
record.
weeks.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, recording, yes. I mean, we have talked to each other, make it sound like we just iced each other out. But
When you say talk to me, that's like this actually talked like in person or like this. I mean, yeah,
well,
Instagram, that's a constant.
well, we saw each other at Christmas. Last time I saw you was the
Yeah, that was
27th.
still a couple weeks ago.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
today is the 9th.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, we have the modern way of communicating, which is the sharing of videos. But I was like, really, in this last week, it really has been only over Instagram Reels, I believe,
I
because I was
know.
like, I don't think we've shared a text or maybe in the family chat.
Yeah,
But
but even that's been kind of quiet.
yeah, it's January. It's after the new year, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. We're going to be focusing on the new year and how your human design type can help you craft some maybe meaningful and aligned intentions for 2025. But
Hmm.
before we get to that, just for those of you that are interested in us personally, if not, I'll have the timestamp so you can skip ahead. We did get to see each other over Christmas, which was a
Hmm.
lot of fun. And you got me a picture frame, skylight picture
Hmm.
frame, it's called,
Yep,
app,
Skylight. Hmm.
which was really great because it's preload. You guys preloaded it with like 200 some pictures, I think,
Hmm.
mostly from you. And it's
Yes.
funny. So it creates like a running slideshow. And I do have it set to come on at like 7 in the morning, which I don't know why, because nobody's up at 7. I need to adjust those times.
Do you still have it in the living room?
Yeah, I decided to keep it
Hmm.
in the living room because I can see it like when I'm cooking dinner and stuff. But then by the time at the end of the night or when I'm just walking through the house, I can see it.
Hmm.
Um, and everybody can see it, not just me. Um, but it's funny because I can tell who uploaded what pictures. I know your pictures and Ian's pictures. I did go through the other day and edit a lot of the pictures out because I just can't take all the dumb like super close-ups that you guys do of yourselves that you think are funny, but I'm like, I don't want to see those. I like to see nice pictures of my family. But so that was a really nice gift. And if you're watching us, we've got you can't see it, but I am probably at my favorite uh gift I got. Your dad surprised me with what is it, a stand, a desk stand for
A standing desk.
a standing desk because I really love my desktop. It's great. So he bought me one of those stands like Presley and you have that just took
Hmm.
off the old base and put this new one. And oh my God, I love it. I love being able to, I'm not standing now, but I love being able to just press the button and everything just rises up. And then I'm standing and I've been wanting that for so long. And because I get tired of sitting.
Hmm.
And that was really great. And I got a new camera, which I don't know how great it is over Zoom as we were talking, but so it was nice. Got some fun
Hmm.
things for that. What was one of your favorite things? Did you have anything that really excited you?
Yes, I look at it every day now, but it's the watercolor painting that Lakeland
Oh,
made of
oh
Noche.
yeah, that is so sweet. I'll have to share a picture of that on the Substack,
Yeah.
so everybody can see that. Our resident artist, of course, Lakeland did a watercolor of our dear old sweet cat Noche, who joins us every night for dinner. Literally sits at the chair next to Ian at the dinner table and waits
Mhm.
patiently to see if anybody's going to give her a noodle.
Uh,
So Lakeland did a watercolor for you of her sitting
mhm.
at the table waiting.
Yes, it's perfection. I love it.
Yeah, she's gotten a few more. She did a commission piece for Lori of her
Mhm.
little dog, Juniper. Lori is a friend of the family who helped Haley with her day of wedding planning.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
but anyway, so it was nice to have you guys here. We like to play games, which we did. We had a fun new game, Monikers, which was awesome.
Yes.
That's a fun game. If you are a game playing type of person, check it out.
Highly,
Monikers is
highly recommend.
really good.
We played that the most.
Yeah. And I will say, and it may be because I was sick, but I don't think so. This was like the first time, Christmas time, visit and everything that I didn't drink any alcohol. I mean, I haven't been drinking much this year at all, but I told myself beforehand, when you guys get here, if I want a glass of wine, I got wine. I mean, I don't have any reason for it. I'm just day by day, just like, do I want to
Mhm.
have a glass of wine or not? And then I got sick because I had gone to Houston, um, real quick trip, and traveling on planes, came back with a virus, and I was sick and definitely did not want to feel worse. So, anyways, yeah, I feel like I'm rambling now. But anyways, so after you guys left, and then it becomes New Year's, and then it's
Mhm.
January, and
And then it's
I
Presley's birthday.
oh yeah, he had his birthday on the 6th. The great
Yes.
patriot had his birthday January 6th, is now day in infamy, which I did ask you, you guys doing anything? And what did you say he said about birthdays?
Oh, yeah. And mind you, this is also his 30th birthday, so it's
Oh
like
yeah,
a
it's a big one.
milestone birthday.
Yeah.
We're at we're at lunch the day before, and I was like, "What do you want to do for your dinner?" He's like, or "What do you want to do for your birthday?" He's like, "I couldn't care less." He says, "Birthdays are like funerals. They're for the other people." And I was like, "Well, okay." And then he's like, "Going out to dinner is just for you." And I was like, "Well, birthdays are special to me, so we're gonna celebrate it." And he's like, "Okay, fine."
Mind you, one, the most individually defined person I know is your husband, has
Hmm.
the most individual circuitry of anybody I've seen. Also, he's a Capricorn through and through. He's like, what is the purpose of this? This has
Yeah.
no measurable value to me.
Uh huh. Yeah.
And when you said, and you were like, I know it makes him sound cold. I'm like, no, I can. I mean, I can see him doing it. He's like, I can see
I
his
know, and
facial
he says it
expression.
so matter of factly because
I know.
he's like, "Why?"
I know. And we often paint this picture of him, but he's one of the funniest people I know. Like,
Yeah.
playing games with Presley is such a delight because he is so like he seems so serious and then he gets in a game situation and he can do some of the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Oh my god,
He makes me
he
laugh
was the
so hard.
ringer for the last round
What?
of monikers or charades. He was the freaking ringer.
Oh,
Like
charades.
he nailed it so
Goes all
much.
in. Goes all in. Love it. I look forward to it every time. But anyways, that was one highlight, January 6th for her for Presley's birthday, not anything else. Low point. But I don't know about you, but it's been feeling particularly like slow for me, slow start to the year. And I've been seeing a lot of people feeling that way. And it's also maybe it's because the way algorithms are and what we see, it knows more how I see things or whatever I interact with. That what I'm seeing is a lot of people feeling that same way of like, it's been the same way the last couple of years. People don't want to do resolutions. So it's like, and as I've gotten deeper into human design, it seems to me also resolutions are like crazy, not crazy, but they feel counter
Silly.
silly, but like counter to the things I believe and the work that we talk about here, because resolutions are like, what's your impression of like a resolution?
It's like, I mean, you think of anyone's typical resolution, like one you'll always see is people saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to the gym more often." It's
Mm-hmm.
like it always feels like this thing that you want to change about yourself because for some reason you feel like it's wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. And while we can all improve, right? I believe the same thing. It's like you start to think, well, it's if you're starting the year off on a foot of there's something wrong with me, and in order to do what I want to do this year or have things that happen, I have to like change myself. Now, like I said, in some ways that's true, but the last several years, especially, well, with human design, but even before that, it changed my way of thinking with yoga. And the way we approach the new year there would be like, oh, they would start setting intentions in the sense of, um, on that first day of the year, you would do things that would set more of the tone of like what you wanted your year to be like. Now, in the early days, excuse me, in the early days of my yoga journey, I was doing Ashtanga yoga. And the thing they wanted to do, it was doing 108 sun salutations in a row.
Nah, I'm good.
I heard about it, and then I don't remember how many years in, maybe 2 or 3 years in, I decided I was going to give it a shot. So this was like, I don't know, early 2000s. And I was a lot younger then. And the first year, I think I got through to like 40 or 50 and wanted to die.
Yeah.
Mainly the wrists hurt so bad. But, and then I don't know if it was the next year, I think I did it with my teacher, and I was just determined to get through it to impress her, really. And I did it. And then literally could not use my arms for like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, I
You're
feel like I
like,
had to
can
ice
someone feed
everything.
me?
I know. It seems like not such a hard thing until you try to do 100. I mean, properly do 101 or 108. I'm sorry. Did I say that the first time or did I say 100?
Mm-hmm. You said
108.
108.
Yeah. Sacred number. Um, so once I did that, I was like, yeah, I don't need to do that again. But I have tried to, like, even on this January 1st, things like I made sure I went for a walk. I made sure that that was my main priority, was making sure I did something that day instead of doing nothing. And even I had a sweet treat that I'd bought at the store for breakfast, which I never eat breakfast. I
Mm-hmm.
actually ate it the day before with Lakeland to make sure I didn't start my year off with like eating a Danish. Those are just like weird little things we do, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
do you
I
ever?
mean, I made sure not to do any laundry because you don't want to wash away.
Oh, really? Is that one you heard?
I'm pretty sure I heard it from you.
No,
Yeah, I think so.
no, I never heard that. Wash away what?
I think it's supposed to be if you don't do laundry because otherwise you like wash away your money for the year or something like
Okay,
that.
I definitely.
I swear.
That's not me. Maybe that's Margie.
Maybe
Maybe that's it.
maybe it was Margie, but I could have sworn it was you. But I
No,
didn't like that was
I've
the
heard
only
the one.
thing.
The only other one I think is like don't put your purse on the floor because it's disrespectful
Who
to your
puts
money.
their
I heard that
purse on
one.
the floor to begin with?
People do. You go next time you're at a restaurant or somewhere and you see
No.
who puts their purse on the floor. It's gross.
No.
But anyway, so so as we closed out 2024, we did our episodes on reflecting and going back
Hmm.
and what do you want to like, how were you affected in this way, and maybe looking forward what to do. And we wanted to do something at the beginning of the year kind of in that vein, but we decided to not work on intention resolutions, but thinking more about intentions, because even though um it feels kind of slow. I think with the time of the year that it is, anyhow, this is a time to set intentions. It is a time to
Hmm.
get more clear on what you would like to happen or how you'd like to be. And of course, with human design, it's a perfect time to kind of reset and look at your design, right? And
Hmm.
start making more purposeful, intentional choices in how you live your life. And so this might, instead of like setting goals that may not align with your energy, we'd be looking more at look at things that these are things about yourself that you can't and should not change because this is the natural way your energy works, right? And
Mhm.
so to look at those aspects and how they play out and kind of see how you can actively, I hate using the word work, but you know what I mean, like embody that part of
Mhm.
yourself, especially if you're new to design. This is a good place to start. But even if, like me, you've been at it for a while, it's a nice reminder because no matter how much you know, until you actually like put things into practice and make it
Mhm.
a practice and a way of doing things, they just won't stick, right?
Mhm.
So why type we said it's innate, you're not going to change that. I mean, all of your
Mhm.
design's innate, but this is where we always, especially with type, focus on your type strategy authority. Everything else falls in line.
Mhm.
um, and so the type being the way that you interact with the world and what you're here, the overarching role in the whole thing is how you um, your energy thrives. So, in this episode, we're going to do a little overview of each type with some actionable intentions, real life examples, what that might look like. But first, before we do that, real quick, I want to remind everyone that I do have something that can really support you throughout the year, as and especially as you're going through this episode. If you don't already have it, or you want to listen to this episode again after you get it, I do have a custom human design guidebook that is tailored specifically to your design. So if you've been wondering like how to make aligned decisions, uncover your unique strengths and start creating this life that feels more truly authentic for you, then this guidebook is the perfect little like map for that. And so
Mhm.
it's got lots of insights in there tailored specifically to your chart. And it's something, like I said, that you can return to again and again as you learn more. It is that foundational piece for you. I am a 4-1. I love foundations. Um, I love researching, putting it in there.
Mhm.
And so that is available as you navigate your year and your life ahead. And then also, if you're craving a little bit deeper clarity or personalized support, of course, I also offer one-to-one sessions where we can explore your design in detail and get a little bit of intuitive insight there as well. That's my strong suit, is really getting like we are here face to
Mhm.
face and going through your chart. Bring me your questions. It can be human design informed, but also other things tend to magically come through. I don't know how it works, but it is what it is. And so if you want to do that, you can definitely go to my website and all the information's there. Set up a time we can work together, which would be great. So it'll be in the show notes. Okay, so let's dig into the types here. So
Yes.
we're going to start with generators just because odds are a lot of people out there listening are generators.
I
70% of
guess
the
they are
planet.
the base of the pyramid. I don't want to say the bottom because they're not worse. They're not. There's no negativity with it. They're just they're just the base. They make up the most. That's all I'm trying to
Yes,
say.
between generators, manifesting generators. But we're going to talk about both types, but the generator types, which are the, as you said, they make up about 35% of the population, pure generators. Manifesting generators also have defined sacral centers like generators do, but there's a little different nuance there. Together, they sacrally defined people, such as myself, a generator, and manifesting generators, make up about 70% of the population. And
Jeez.
so, checks out. And so, really, the main role function of the generator is what, Haley?
They build.
Well, they have defined sacral centers, which is the center for work energy, life
Mhm.
energy, building energy. It has that sacral response, which is our little hack of telling us what is the best way to use our
Mhm.
energy when presented with a choice, a yes or no choice. Our sacral
Mhm.
energy will light up or not, they say, um, which was thinking about that whole lighting up thing the other day. I'll have to work that out in my head too, because I think that's a little bit misleading too when you're like following sacral response,
Mhm.
because it makes me feel like you have to be like, ah, but you don't really. It's, you can feel it in your
I
body. It's like yes or
I
no.
feel like that about a lot of things where like just the mainstream would be like, "Oh, you got to do what lights you up, what fires you up." I'm like,
Lights you up.
there's nothing for me. That I don't have that. But I'm not also like excessively emotion like I
I'm not
don't have
either.
excessively expressive on my emotion, I would say.
Yeah, no, I'm not either, because the reason I was thinking about that was all this as a person trying to build a business or a brand in social media, and over the years how it's evolved. Now it's going back to more relaxed long form. Like, I've moved over to Substack mainly for the reason because I really don't want to be on a lot of social media,
Mhm.
because I just can't stand all the like having to act energized all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I think about. I'm thinking about a few people in the space, or especially in the coaching space, and they're like jumping into your screen, or they're like, "Hey," and everybody looks all light up and excited, and I'm like, I'm a generator, but I'm just not that kind of generator. Like, I think there's this misperception that we're like these energizer bunnies that have to be
Mhm.
like always on and excited, and so everybody can see it. And I just don't feel that way most of the time. I'm interested in
Mhm.
things, I get excited, but and I realized what that disconnect was for me with that kind of social media, or just content creation, I guess, because
Mhm.
it just doesn't feel aligned with me. And so I'm having to kind of figure that out. And I just posted an article, essay, whatever you want to call it, on Substack, kind of around this topic and what we're talking about January, and this slowness feeling that I'm having, even though we all have this pressure to be doing something.
Mhm.
But right now, my sacral is like flat in a lot of ways. And it's just like, no.
Mhm.
And it's kind of, it's been a process this past year, and of feeling like I should be a lot further along, and I should all these things, because I finally have all these opportunities to dig into the human design business and everything I want to do, but it's been kind of a slow slog in a way too. And
Mhm.
but anyways, so if you want to read more about that, that's over on the Substack. You can find the link in the show notes as well. And but like we are talking about generators, what you lights you up, how we got off on that tangent
Mhm.
is that that is something my sacral is leading me to, because I have felt disconnected from what I have been told or you think you should be doing somewhere else,
Mhm.
and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good to me.
Mhm.
So, how do you go about getting visible and building a business if you're not on social media and those,
Mhm.
and that's difficult. So, anyways, that's just where that has led me. But that's the key point with the generators, is honoring that response in the moment, and which is not always easy to do, even though as a projector yourself, I know projectors have sometimes told me they wish they had that so they would know, but you don't always know. I mean,
Mhm.
your husband knows. Like, he's
Yeah.
sacrally defined, pure sacral generator. He does not doubt himself that much. I'm sure we all have some self doubt, but he
Yeah.
pretty much does what his sacral tells him to do a lot,
Mhm.
don't you think?
Yeah. He does. He doesn't doubt himself per se, but he will doubt if he's using the right tools. That's
Mm.
where most of his doubt is will be around.
That's probably more of the line one aspect of his
I think
nature.
so.
He's a 1-3, because I can relate to that. I'm always like, ooh, new tool. Ooh. I mean, I get it with him. I'm the same way, of like, I can get excited about seeing new
Mhm.
things or something that'll make it more streamlined or more productive, or
Mhm.
which one makes more sense. And he'll research it. We'll get onto that. But yeah, so generators in general have to honor, or should, or it works best for them if they honor that sacral response, because it's letting you know what is the proper use of your energy, because there's
Mhm.
a lot of sacral energy to be used, and it can be abused. by yourself and by others if you are not paying attention to what really lights you up. And so your focus for this year, if you want to work on that or explore that, I should say, is really aligning with the whole what lights you up, but really aligning with what feels good and not just like seems like a good idea. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't let the head get involved, but really start tuning into the whole, like, what that feels like. And so, really dedicating your time and to activities maybe that things that generally energize you, interest you. Pausing to say, pausing before saying yes to commitments to make sure they feel right. Because even if you're not an emotional generator, still, I think there is an amount of pause that you have to do. Like, it's not as quick as a splenic response, let's say, because that we know splenic responses are very much in the moment and
Mm-hmm.
fleeting, but a sacral response can keep coming back as a yes, right? If it's the right thing
Mm-hmm.
for you. And so if you aren't used to following that response, maybe pausing is good when you're asked for a commitment because your default behavior may be to say yes, as in my case, I have I'm sacrally defined. I have the 14-2 and I have the 2946. Those both connect to the G center. And then I also have the 3457 connecting to the spleen. And I also have the 59-6 connecting to the solar plexus. So there's like a lot of responses that could be
Mm-hmm.
happening for me. And the one that usually used to be leading the way more is that 2946 because 29 wants to say yes to everything. It's like it's the gate of perseverance and commitment. And if you say
Mm-hmm.
yes, then you have to see it through to the end. And I learned that earlier in life of saying yes to commitments that I didn't really want to be a part of, but I didn't know any better. And so I've gotten better, but it's not like you just intellectually hear this stuff and then it works. It you have to
It
take
takes
your
time,
time.
and it
It takes
takes
time.
time, and then it takes time for it to click, and then it takes
Hmm.
time for you to like make it your norm.
Yeah, right. And then you forget, and then you go back again.
Yep. Then you start over.
Start over again in January. So, also maybe having the intention to let your gut lead like daily simple decisions,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I always suggest people start, is like simple as like what kind of food you want to eat that day or what you want to do, what you have the energy for that day. Always, 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 as
Either or.
generators. That was a weird laugh. Always to avoid initiating every generator
Mm-hmm.
that I know we want to get into action. Even if you're a manifesting generator, you still have to have that sacral. You're essentially still a generator type. You have to have that
Mm-hmm.
initial sacral response to something. If you, as a manifesting generator, are just jumping ahead without responding to things, that's when you start expending
Mm-hmm.
more energy than you need to. And that's what you're not here to do. You're here to find efficient uses of your energy.
Yeah.
And so,
Should really be called a generating manifester, but it doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. I mean, originally in the original transmission of the system, there's only
Mm-hmm.
four types. And you can consider it that I think it's a lot of times it's good to consider it that way because I think as a manifesting generator, it helps you get in touch more with that sacral response because really, I think manifesting generators, when they first come to the system, they want to identify more with the manifesting part of it because
Mm-hmm.
that sounds sexy to everybody. Everybody thinks when they first hear human design, oh, I wish I was a manifester. That's like pretty much what I hear
Mm-hmm.
from everybody.
Because they're like, oh, they can initiate. Everyone else
Yeah.
has to wait on something.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm special. I have the energy. But if you're a manifester, that no, it don't work like that.
There
I
is still
still got
some waiting.
issues. My life is not charmed. We were always jealous of what we don't have, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, but you really should always as a sacral type. Honor that sacral. That's the most important thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so also practicing honoring the no's as much as you honor the yeses. That's really important because it
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really is super, super easy for a generator to just keep doing what they've been doing, which is pushing through the no's. And we can do it. I can do it. It's no big deal. But even if you don't physically burn out, I feel like you can emotionally burn out, spiritually burn out, because you're just going against what your true nature
Mm-hmm.
is telling you is good for you and wants to do. And it can be detrimental in the long run. So what is that? What can that look like in real life? Like, say you're invited to or you're asked to join like something, a new project at work or something. If you're somebody that is in a work environment, make sure you get that response, that sacral response. If you don't, like, you can't say, well, I just can't say no to everything at work, but maybe you can find more creative ways to make it so that it's something that you know that you can really contribute your best effort to. Likewise, let's see some other examples. I think what's appropriate for this time of year is like, say, you've set up for yourself, or maybe you've been part of like some kind of strict or specific workout schedule or routine or something that you like, but you, not that you like, but that you think is effective, but you kind of dread every session.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it depends on if it feels different when you're done. If after you're done, you're like, oh, I feel great. Or if you still, after you're done, you're like, I fucking hate doing that, might be a good idea to switch it up and maybe even just for the day. If it's like you wake up and you want to exercise, like your end goal is I want to exercise, to open yourself up and kind of maybe step outside, see what feels good. Maybe looking even on YouTube, you might see a new workout that your
Mm-hmm.
sacral responds to a little bit different and just see where that goes, being open to other things coming in that could light you up, so to speak, that might be something a little different, even just for the day, even like dancing, something that feels good to you instead of just sticking to your routines.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody who has gate 5 who knows that routines can be comfortable and they can be a trap. Yeah. And then a key thing about authority, emotional, really is really all I'm going to touch on a lot here in this episode, because it's, all these types we talk about, good chance, 50-50 is going to be emotional or not. I hear this a lot with generators, this like, especially manifesting generators who are emotional authority of like, well, I got the response, I'm supposed to do something. Well, emotional, you have to gain clarity over time, feel it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you haven't been doing this, this is a really good time to kind of clear the slate and start exploring with taking that longer pause after the sacral response. Again, this is not for the small things that don't really
Mm-hmm.
mean that much. These are for the bigger things, bigger projects, plans, jobs, trips, whatever it is you're going to do. Just, pause a minute or a day or a week and
Sleep on it at least.
sleep on it at least. And if you notice any fluctuations, you can just kind of feel those fluctuations out, how you feel about the thing. And really, the emotional wave and the clarity and the time is to be able to come to the decision from a more balanced place instead of being in a high high or a low low. You can feel it throughout that whole wave and then still over time see how that decision still feels to you, if it feels appropriate or not. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, we can move on a little bit to manifesting generators because it's very similar. As we said, there were some overlaps there, but the main one being that the main difference being they are sacral, but what else sets them apart, Haley?
They have a motorized throat,
Which means what?
which means that they can technically initiate and they are quicker in action, but being a manifesting generator, they do still have to react to something outside of themselves.
Yes. Yes, there's four centers in the human design body graph. There's 9 total, but 4 of them are what we refer to as motor centers, meaning they help move energy through the chart. The sacral is that always on motor, but all the other three have their own little patterns. The will center is more of a has an energy bank stored up, depletes the, as we just said, the emotional solar plexus center wave energy patterns of energy or low energy, and then the
Honestly,
root.
I forget. You said three other ones, and I was like, okay, the will center, the root, and then I was like, what is the other one? I totally forget about. I forget the solar plexus is a motor. Like I have completely forgotten that information.
Well, yeah, because you're undefined there for one. Yeah, it moves energy in waves, and then the root is more of a pulse energy, adrenalized energy. Um, So when you're a manifesting generator, it means your sacral center is defined, but then it also means one of those other centers are also defined with a somehow a connection to the throat. It doesn't have to be direct, but it's got to go some way. There's going to be a motor that gets through some of those channels to the throat. And so it does allow them to, when you have a defined, a motorized throat center, like you said, it allows you to get into action without the help of other people. You don't need
Hmm.
that energy because it's there. Um, and so tend to have a lot of energy as a type. Some of the characteristics are people who generally we see them as they're kind of, I hate to use the word multi-passionate, but they have lots of interests and they're usually doing lots of different things at the same time. Not like they're spinning literal plates on their hands, but like they have lots of projects open. They might have 50 tabs open on their browser. They might be brushing their teeth while they're vacuuming. I don't know. I'm just thinking of people that can do and like to do, make a good use of their time, and they tend themselves to, without understanding that this is how their energy works, is feel a little bit scattered and unfocused. Like they feel like they should be more um, like the rest of the world in the sense of kind of a step by step by step process. Their process
Hmm.
is step, leap, maybe come back a step, go over here, go over there.
Sidestep,
Yeah. But that's because
spin.
they're here to help show us how to more a better way of doing things, a more efficient way of doing things. And that includes making mistakes. It includes skipping
Hmm.
steps because if you always did things the same way, you're never going to learn a new way. And they help us
Yeah.
find new ways to do things.
Hmm.
Um, and so they the focus for manifesting generators in the year can be that like multi-passionate energy with the sacral response of responding, of finding that balance between like just doing and getting into action real quick, checking in to see if it's actually something you want to be doing or if you're just always kind of pinging around, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, some intentions you could set would be giving yourself permission to pursue multiple projects, but to stay maybe flexible about which ones you actually bring across the finish line. Because one thing that is important to note is that for a manifesting generator, all the things you start, all the things you do are not necessarily going to be things that you complete, which is always, I think, a big sigh of relief for a lot of manifesting
Hmm.
generators to hear that because
Hmm.
they're like always been told they need to finish things and they should stick to it and all that other stuff. Just give yourself permission to explore things without feeling the need to have to finish things. Um, and that means like pursuing something that really does interest you. The sacral has said yes. And then being okay with when that energy just leaves and it's not there, to just pivot into something else and quit judging yourself about it or wondering what it is, what's wrong with you, or any of that other stuff, because you still have that sacral energy. You still have that generator space of sometimes the energy leaves because you have to have the next step presented to you, right? To know what to respond to. So go do something else. Doesn't matter. You might find something else you want to do anyhow.
Hmm.
But also remember, as a manifesting generator, because you can initiate what is another part of their strategy besides responding,
Informing.
informing. Yes. And so to if you haven't so far really practiced that, thinking about letting people know what you're doing. And I haven't, I mean, I your dad's a manifesting generator, as we said, and I don't really discuss this with him because he doesn't ask and he doesn't really care. But I do notice he does a good job a lot of times about informing, whether it's uh, I've pointed it out to him over the years. I don't know, but he does now come in more than I will, honestly, to him, of telling me, like, I am now going here. He's like, I'm going to go to the store. Okay, see you later. I'm going to do this. Okay, but I tell you, if he just gets up and leaves and doesn't tell me, it does annoy me, which is probably true for most people. But, um,
Like he will do when we go out to dinner. We're all sitting at the table and he just gets up and leaves. We're like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, like that. But let's see. So, okay, so back to that note of just kind of aligning with your natural energy that wants to explore and wants to try new things. And they don't always make sense of why you're doing this project or why you're doing that project, or whatever.
Hmm.
Project is just a word that we use. I'm not really.
Endeavor.
Endeavor. Just get more comfortable with allowing yourself to explore it without the expectation of an end result necessarily.
Hmm.
Just know that using your energy every day in whatever is engaging you, even if it's lots of different things, is a proper use of your energy. And so to just kind of honor that about yourself and see what shows up, because it may be the side thing that you didn't give much thought in, but it took your attention, especially if you're a line one and a manifesting generator. You're suddenly like down this rabbit hole. You may not know what that's going to lead to. It might actually connect with another project you're working on. It's just to be more open to the possibilities that come your way and explore them. And
Hmm.
so, what that could look like is, oops, sorry. What that could look like is embracing all these different facets of yourself instead of trying to focus in one direction. See how you can blend and meld some of these things together. Like,
Hmm.
um, say you,
Makes me
um,
think of a diamond or any gemstone, really. But
mhm,
like a diamond, they have all these different facets, all these different sides, and that's what makes them shine.
mm, oh, that's a nice one. That's good. I mean, what more can you say about that than just that? Just the different facets of yourself make a beautiful gem. So just honor that, embrace that. But just make sure you're following your strategy and authority. Make sure it's aligned and it's not just
Hmm.
ping ponging around. Make sure there's you have been led in that direction, let's say. Okay, so let's move on to the manifestors. So I know it always goes like generator, manifesting generator. Makes more sense to do a projector next because they're a larger part of the population, but this is what I have in my outline. We're going to go with manifestors next.
I mean, I think it makes more sense to do manifestors next because we literally just did manifesting generator, which is a bridge between the two.
Ayy.
I got stuck in a loop.
She's glitching. She's glitching. Oh, sorry. Okay, so all right then. So manifestors. So smaller part of the population, just 9% of the population. As we said, this is the people that come in, or when you're new to human design, you're like, I want to be a manifestor, or at least a manifesting generator. But manifestors are those types that can get into action. They have one of those motors connected to the throat, either directly
Hmm.
or indirectly. However, they do not have the sacral center defined. So the big indication with that is what, even though there's somebody that can get into action, there's do not have a defined sacral center. So what's something that they have to consider in their
They
lives?
don't. So they don't have a consistent source of energy. So they have to make sure that the, because the other three motors are
Mm-hmm.
all, they, like you said, have their own patterns. So you have to do, manifestors have to have a more of a prep to themselves to make sure they're maintaining their energy stores for when they get that spark to
Mm-hmm.
then follow and initiate.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, because they, like projector types, they can, with that undefined sacral center, which is, remember, that always on energy, they don't have that defined. So they definitely want to tap into it, and they can definitely feel it in the population around them, and they can definitely borrow it, but they can't sustain it. And so with that initiating energy and that ability to get into action when they want to, it it can be tempting to always be on because you're amplifying that sacral energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even, and so I think that's the big contradiction conundrum type thing in the manifestor type, is that when, especially because our culture values so much action and being in action and just
Mm-hmm.
doing it, you know, they are the ones that can just do it, but they're not supposed to do it forever.
Mm-hmm.
They're not supposed to keep doing it and do the whole thing. They're just
Mm-hmm.
supposed to initiate, get the ball rolling. And then when their energy's not there or their interest is not there anymore, they're allowed to pivot as well. It's like, okay, I'm done with that now. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they have been conditioned to believe that they do have to stick with it. They do have to follow through, that they have to keep up with everybody else. And I could see how it could be really difficult over a lifetime of not understanding that use of your energy, that you are actually supposed to pull your energy back at times too, and rest and restore is just as important as the times when you're getting into action. Also, as a manifester, I think this is a good time to, if you haven't been, to really start exploring like this side of yourself, that unique side of yourself that is your manifestor energy, of stepping into action, maybe sometimes bold action, maybe taking a new direction, even though you have been in another direction or format or career or whatever it is, and start um, allowing yourself to make those pivots when it feels right, and also to allow yourself to rest when it feels right as well. Because, as we've said, you said their energy can move in more unpredictable cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not rested, if they're not taking care of their own personal energy, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
harder to initiate, because the it's almost like they have their own internal nonverbal communication with the divine, really, with the inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
with the muse, whatever it is. They don't necessarily know when it's going to hit either. It's just an impulse. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if they're not able to maintain or keep up, those things kind of dry up. Those ideas, the drive, that connection kind of goes on a
Mm-hmm.
little pause, because
Source is like, you need to sort yourself.
you need to rest, sweetheart.
Go take a
Um,
nap.
so because they have that nonverbal communication, they don't know what it is. It's something that I'm always fascinated to hear or witness in action, how manifestors go about navigating that energy. Um, but their strategy is to inform those around them of the actions they're considering taking, because when the energy hits, when they can get into action and they have the energy and they have the focus and they have the thing, they might not be able to express it verbally what that is. They just start doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Getting interrupted can create this, that can, the dis not disconnect, the interruption of energy. And they always talk about manifestors and anger being their not self theme, but it's really this this energy is just like interrupted and it has to go somewhere and it can
Mm-hmm.
like come out as anger because it's just like, "Ugh, I had the thing and now
I
I
was
don't
on a
have the thing."
roll.
Yeah, in that moment thing. So when you inform, because the manifestor energy tends to kind of have people on edge anyhow, because energetically you can kind of feel that there's something about this person that's a little bit different. It's a little bit unpredictable because they do go do their own thing quite often. You don't really know what to expect from them. So there is kind of a, they talk about manifestors aura being closed or
Mm-hmm.
repelling, which is the worst
I know, it makes it
worst
sound
definition.
so bad.
I know. Can you imagine like what a heretic? You're a line 5 and you're a manifester. They're like, you're repelling a heretic. It's like,
You're
good
like,
God. I don't
oh,
think I want to look into this human design shit. This
yeah,
sounds terrible.
yeah.
But I see it as their aura is closer to their body. It is charged in a way. Like I said, there is
Mm-hmm.
this like uncertainty around people, which I guess that's what he meant by repelling, because they kind of can give this energy off of leave me alone. But it's because they don't need you in order to do what they want to do necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
like most of us do. We need access to that energy. They have access to the manifesting energy in the throat. They don't need us. They like us, they want us, they tell you they want help, they'll tell you, but when they're doing their thing, they're initiating, they don't need
Leave
you.
him be.
Yeah, they don't need you to help them initiate, they can do it. So when you inform, it kind of smooths the way. People are like, oh, okay, it's nothing personal. They just want to go do this thing, or they are thinking about starting this or whatever. So manifestors still have to wait like everybody else in some way because they have to be restored. They have to
Mm-hmm.
have their own energy. They've got to have that space to allow the divine whatever move through them
Mm-hmm.
and get really in tune with their own inner working and their own process and their own energy so that they can, I think, so that when they're really tuning into that, they can feel. So I imagine like how static builds up, like a
Mm-hmm.
charge, just like when you and your dad were on the boat that day, you
Mm-hmm.
said, and you could feel it was
We
a
could hear it.
thunderstorm. You
We
could
could
hear
hear
it.
it buzzing.
Yeah, you
You
could
could just
feel the
feel it.
electricity in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little unsettling.
It is when you're when you are specifically in that moment in a on a boat in a thunderstorm. Yes, not great, not great.
But wasn't even raining though, was it? It was like that stillness, wasn't it? It was just like there
It
was
was just
electricity
kind of a
around.
light drizzle, but
Oh,
it was overcast and we could see the thunder and we could see the lightning offshore further, but it was
mm,
like
yeah.
started buzzing.
But that's kind of what I feel like. And if you're a manifester, let me know. You can, since we're on Substack, if you go over there, you can leave comments on all these episodes. We can have a conversation about it. But I imagine that it is like if you're really in tune to how your energy works as a manifester and you're taking care of yourself and you're protecting that energy, you start to feel the charge. Maybe you feel the impulse is building,
Mhm.
and that's when you start informing those around you of what feels like it's building, so that when the time comes, like, just get out of the way, leave me alone.
In the
Yeah.
nicest way possible.
Yeah. And so also, like I said, because you have to protect your energy, make sure you're prioritizing those days of rest, especially after you
Mhm.
have creative bursts or anything like that. And really just, I think I had posted, my friend Olga, who's a manifester, did a great reel the other day about affirmations that she's using this year. And they were so much of these things about it's okay for me to take up space. I honor like my own time, all these things that I think are good for manifestors, especially emotional manifestors can have, I think, I don't like to say this too often, but can have a more challenging um, time in life because you're finding that balance between
Mhm.
honoring the
Quick and
emotional
waiting.
wave. Yeah, honoring the wave. Do you feel it? Is it coming? Is it building? Is it, do I have the energy? But because you have to take that time and with the emotional piece to it. Um, So, like, say in the workplace, what does that look like for a manifestor? Would be like if you work in a team environment, you might notice some inefficiency in the workplace. Instead of like waiting for someone else to suggest changes, as a manifestor, you can just kind of create the proposals, the ideas, and share it with people and say things like, I noticed that we could really save a lot of time or money or whatever if we implemented this, and I'm going to test it out next week and I'll let you know what I find out. People will be like, "Oh, well that's great. We could use some help with that and we don't have to waste all our time thinking about it. Sherry's got it. We'll let her run with it." That's one suggestion. Or like, say you're in business for yourself, or you have customers, like you're a graphic designer or something, or you could just let your people know, your audience, your customers, or whatever, like, hey, I'm working on some new designs, or I'm going to start doing templates that are going to be like ready for you to buy from me soon. It's going to be here. Like, I think about the manifestors I know personally, that how they do that. They don't ask for feedback a lot of times. They actually just like, they may go quiet for a while, but then they come back out and they're like, this is what I'm doing now. And it's interesting how I think if other people do that, sometimes it's like, what's she doing now? But they just, we're working on the energetic level here. When they do it, it's just like, that's
You're
so
like, oh, okay.
interesting. And it does make you feel like, oh, that's interesting that they can do that. Oh, I could maybe do that. Or it initiates in you an idea of like what you could do. So, anyways, they're here to initiate, and they help initiate the rest of us. Okay, so let's move on to projectors, because as always, I talk too much. And what's that smile for? That was like the most pasted on
Oh,
smile.
because
Like,
we're going to projectors. And then I got distracted by you talking about how you talk too long, and I was like, no, don't do that. But I kept the smile.
projector waiting for the recognition. Yes, our dear
Uh,
projectors, my dear Haley, projector Haley.
I-
Hey, it's me. Our projectors, our wise guides in the world, here to help us know how it's the best way to use our energy. Where do we
I
need our
have a
guidance?
I have a very good example of this.
Okay,
It
one second.
occurred.
Wait a
Okay.
minute. So,
Mhm.
projectors in general, also undefined sacral centers,
Mhm.
like manifestors. And as I said, they are here to help guide the rest of us, use their wisdom to help us know how to use our energy and let us know what is a good use of our energy.
Mhm.
But
Now
they
my
have to
example.
be recognized and invited in. If they're not, a lot of times their advice goes unheard. People don't want to,
Yeah.
they don't like it. They think you're bossy. They think you're sticking your nose in, even though you know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
You know what you mean.
Mhm.
But so now, Haley, what would you like to share?
Okay. So this happened at Presley's aunt's house while we were down there. It was a kind of an assembly line of a build your own grits. There was
What, grits?
on the grits, yeah, on the
Okay, that's a
right,
southern thing. Grits.
yeah.
Okay. I
So
think
if you're
everybody's had
looking,
shrimp and grits by now.
I think so. So if you're like looking into the kitchen right here, you have the oven in the middle, and then a countertop to the right and a countertop to the left. And the grits were on the right, so you that's where you would start. And originally they had like the bacon and the cheese and the scallions right there in front of the grits. But then also on the stove we had like a clam sauce, we had shrimp, we had sausage, we had a like a red pepper sauce. So it was like these other toppings, and I was
No,
like,
no, no. Tappings go on top.
I know. That's why I was like, are the bacon and the cheese and all that for like the grits for like the topping of the grits? They're like, yeah. And before that, Kim had also said like, if anyone knows anything better, like just let me know. And I was like, I think those guys should go at the end of the line because I think that makes more sense. She's like, oh, that's really good. And then there was like, there's a U. Her kitchen's kind of U shaped, so there was like also shredded pork sliders and like more things. And I was like, I think these plates need to go here and these toppings need to go here. So I was like, yeah. let's make this a little better.
Because otherwise it'd be chaos in there.
It
Everybody
would
be on
be.
top of each other. Wait a minute. I have my clam sauce. Now I need my scallions, but now I got to go back in line.
But my cheese.
That sounds delicious. I'm getting really
It
hungry
was
now.
really good. They were good grits.
I mean, that's the thing about grits. You put anything on them, you make them. They ever do sweet grits? I mean, I guess you could. I mean, butter is all you really need, butter
Mhm.
and cheese. But you don't need cheese, butter, salt. Okay, so my dear projectors, so yes, invitations, that's great. She said, hey, whereas maybe if Haley had just bust in there and start moving stuff around, they'd be like, what is her problem? Like, what? We just need to eat. Like, it's no big deal. But she put the call out, and you're like, I know.
I have
Let's do
something.
it. It's crazy me. Nobody else will think about that. But anyways, so that is a good, just everyday
Mhm.
example. They don't always have to be these little big life changing examples. Like this is
Nope.
just how
Can
it
be the
goes.
order of the grits line.
It could be. So recognition invitations are big. The strategy for the projector, waiting for the invitation,
Mhm.
and really. Again, that's one of those things that people come to human design. They're like, as a projector, they're like, what does that even
Mhm.
mean? Because you guys have a
Mhm.
lot of wisdom, you have a lot to share, but it's only meant for certain people because you do have the undefined sacral center. So, again, you have to be wise about managing your own energy and what is the best use of your energy. And that invitation usually is from honestly generator types who are asking you for your guidance and you know how to guide them. Now, the important thing for projectors to understand is that they have to know what they want to be recognized for, what they want to be invited into. And so, um, because it you could get invited into things, especially it depends on your profile. Let's say maybe if you are a line 5, people might think you can help them with something, and as a projector who is looking for recognition and an invitation might accept the wrong invitations because there's a projection field around that fifth line energy of like, oh, they think you can help them with the thing they want help with. But often the thing they want help with isn't the help they need. It's what they think they need. But as a projector and a line 5, you'd be like, oh, your shit's all
Now
messed
you
up.
really need this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, you would have to make sure that as a projector, you are conscious and protective of your own energy and your own resources, let's say, of energy, because it's not meant for everybody. The um it's a it's not sustainable. You guys have lots of
Mhm.
energy. Like I said, most of the projectors I know personally could run rings around me on any given day, but over time it's not gonna be good for you. So you have to
Mhm.
honor your energy, and that means you have to be clear on what it is that you want to offer to others, what you're, let's say, passionate about, what the things that you can help others with, so that when the invitations come, which ones are correct for you or not.
Mhm.
Because if you, let's say, I have a good example is my friend who's a projector who is in another life was an accountant, and in this life she's now a more creative artistic type and a writer and everything. And in the transitional space, she wanted to do work as a writer and be seen in that way and helping people and blah blah blah. Got an invitation for accounting work. Well, that was a very hard and decision to kind of come to. She's emotional, so she had time to suss it out, which she did, which she realized, yes, I could do that. Yes, I am good at that, but is that what I want to be recognized for anymore? Is that where I want to put my energy anymore? And to be able to decline that invitation, because if she had taken that invitation, if it's not what she really wanted, even though it felt good to be recognized and asked in, it could lead down the line to the not self of the projector, which is that bitterness and that feeling of
Mhm.
like, "Ugh, this isn't right." So knowing what invitations feel aligned with your energy is utmost importance, which means you have to recognize yourself. You have to honor yourself as the projector. So invest time in things that really excite you, learning about things that excite you, following things. What is your interest? What is your passion? Just do your thing, because when you gather that knowledge or that wisdom or have that skill set or whatever, the more you feel that within yourself is then when you start attracting the right opportunities. Like I always say, it's like the light in the dark, or it's the lighthouse on the hill. It
Mhm.
brings things to you. So um I know Haley embraces this now. Uh Self-care,
These.
realizing you don't have to keep up with all the generators in the room.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep. Highly recommend.
Mhm. Be in environments where your insights are valued. Again, that's like knowing what you can contribute. You've been sharing with us lately how you've started tuning into that more, like in the moment kind of things of like, am I feeling pressured like from my undefined throat to just like speak here and like get the recognition, or is it,
Mhm.
can I just hold back and think about, or not think about, hold back and let my energy do the talking, really,
Yeah. Mhm.
which is good, I
It's
think, for
tough.
both. Well, it's something for projectors, undefined throats, because even generators with undefined throats or generators are responding to opportunities. The more you don't try to push out into the world, the more you don't try to jump around and look at me, actually, the more attractive you become. Which
Mhm.
reminds me, side note, this is a good example. I don't know what her type is, but we were watching a deck sailing yacht,
Mhm.
and there's always boat flings, work flings, all
Mhm.
this stuff. Who's hooking up with who? But what's her name? The Chiefs do.
Daisy.
Daisy. Yeah.
I love her.
So yeah. So there's other two girls on the boat, both young, eager. There's Daisy, older, wiser, and Richard's your dad's walking through, and like there's three guys on the boat that like they're all like focused on her necessarily and not the other ones. And she's, in my opinion, she's not the prettiest. She's not the,
She's not the
that sounds
bombshell, but
terrible.
she's
She's
still
not the
like,
bombshell. She's attractive.
yeah,
She's,
she's a
normal,
normal.
very normal. But that's not the point. My point was, he was like, are they all three like vying for her? And I was like, yeah, you know why? And he's like, why? I was like, because she's the only one not looking for their attention.
Yeah.
She's just trying to do her damn job.
Mhm.
And she's not looking for their attention. And everybody knows that makes her so
It's
much more attractive
it's
to a
also
man.
like a cat.
Well,
How often
me.
is the cat like, no, no, and then we're all like, no, come here, come here,
Oh, I
come
know.
here,
I know how
and they're
often we
like,
try to get our
no.
cat's attention. The dog's just sit there wagging her tail. She's like, I'll talk to you. And we're just
And we're
like,
like, no, we
oh
don't
no,
want you right now.
we want that one over there. True. So that's how energy works.
Mhm.
Well, just try holding back. You'll get more attractive that way. So I like, so one of the examples I had for a projector in that sense, you actually kind of gave the kind of similar to an example I had, which was at work. Instead of just like offering your unsolicited advice, if maybe his aunt hadn't spoke up and said, anybody has any ideas, like in like a work environment, you might have ideas, but you
Mhm.
could put it out to the group. Does anybody have any ideas here or insight about like how we could make this process maybe smoother, or maybe more time efficient, or how we can save money? Like kind of broadly put out there, and then if see if anybody answers. Okay, well, I have some ideas. You want to hear them?
Yeah,
We gotta do them.
you're like pressing the situation.
Yeah, that's right. Um, Or let's say you are at work, and because honestly, projectors make great managers, project managers. You're invited to maybe lead a new project at work. The temptation can be, and this may be something you can relate to in a previous life, maybe not so much now, But instead of like micromanaging and feeling like you have to have your hands on every single task in order to get it done right, does that sound familiar?
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe work on that visioning piece of it, knowing that you have the vision and being able to communicate that vision a little bit better, like being able to delegate tasks and focus on guiding the team and their tasks and their success, which is what makes a good manager instead of trying to do everything, being a micromanager, but really work on understanding your role as the manager is to do just that, is to identify the strengths of everybody around you and where they could shine, and then
Mhm.
work on it that way, which is a great manager.
Mhm.
So,
While you're talking about that, I was also kind of thinking of another way that I kind of l- work with things is I sometimes, if I see something that could be done better or it's being done wrong or like it needs to be fixed, sometimes I just let it play out. If it's something that I'm involved in, I'll let it play out and then people then come to me and they're like, "Hey, can you like do you know what's wrong here or can you like help me figure this out?" And I'm like, "I got you."
yeah, that's like how many I want to send them to you all the time. All the memes you see of like, or the gifs of the projector, like, yeah, I know. After the fact,
Yeah. I
they're
saw
like
this 5 steps ago.
eating the popcorn. You're like, go ahead, guys, do it that way. I'm gonna pretend like I'm not watching and seeing all your mistakes. It's all right. Hey, you can have fun with it.
Mhm. For sure.
Uh, anyways, but I think you could like give a master class now for people, especially of your age, of like saying no or protecting your energy or following things that are interesting to you and really leaning into your energy levels of like what you have energy for, what you don't, and honoring that about yourself, because
Mhm.
we think more output energetically is more effective, but projectors in particular are here to show us that honoring the energy you have helps you use it more efficiently for when
Mm.
you're called into action. Because I know you can like get a lot more done in a smaller amount of time because
Mhm.
you can prioritize, you know what needs to be done, and you can see the big picture and you can bring it to completion a little bit faster. So, well, if you're rested, for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
So make sure you're scheduling in your rest there for your projectors out there, and make that your intention maybe this year of really honing in on what it is you want to be recognized for, honing in on the invitations you're willing to accept, and seeing how you can, on a big scale, you set that intention and see what happens throughout your year, and just continue to honor your energy levels and have fun playing with it, I guess.
Mhm.
Don't feel like you have to be like everybody else because you ain't.
Mhm.
And so, lastly, our reflectors, because they're a very teeny part of the population, just 1%. Um, reflectors are what the name suggests. They are those within our human story here that kind of are that barometer for how we're doing as a whole, like spiritually, emotionally, physically, all these things. They can kind of reflect back to us where we are, reflect back to us what's really going on. And so reflectors are different in many ways from all the other types. One of the main ones being is that they are considered more lunar beings. They're more affected by the moon cycles than
Mm.
by anything else. And so their strategy, non strategy, authority, non authority, I should say, not strategy, is to wait a full lunar cycle before making big decisions. Because what's unique also about a reflector as far as the body graph goes, Haley?
They have no defined stars.
That's right. When you look at their body graph chart, all the centers are white, they're all
Mm.
undefined. So that means that their, like I said, their authority is because for the rest of us, our authority is determined by our definition, where what
Mhm.
centers we have defined. Like emotional authority means you have a defined solar plexus. Sacral authority means that that is the you don't have a defined solar plexus and you're a generator. So with none of those centers being defined, that means as the moon moves through its cycle, through that 28-day cycle, it highlights every single gate in the human design mandala. And so that means different parts of their chart will light up throughout the
Mhm.
month, and it gives them a different perspective and a different way of feeling and a different way of looking at and understanding how they feel about these bigger decisions in life. And
Get the
so,
sample platter.
yeah, so they, during that time, they're meant to, if they, it's very important for them to have like some trusted people around them that they can talk about their bigger decisions just so they can kind of hear what they're saying themselves and how they feel about it. But the other thing that's really important for reflectors is that their environment is incredibly important to them, and how they feel in the environment they are in is important, because if something feels off about the environment, it doesn't mean it's a bad environment. It just means that their energy is not going to be at the best use in that environment. They need to feel uh it has to feel good to them. And
Mhm.
so you can take a look at your home and your work environments and see if anything feels out of alignment as you're moving into this year. Um, Really, I think it would be good to, if you're not already, to start following those lunar cycles. You can, there's different apps that you can follow the cycles of the moon, especially with human design. If you're interested in that, you can always contact me. I can let you know what I think might be good for you. Spend time in environments that feel good to you, with people that feel uplifting to you. Embrace your flexible nature, that it's going to be shifting and changing all the time, depending on your environment, what's happening in the month, who you're around. Just kind of being more aware of that. And, you know, this is really kind of feeds into next week's episode. We're going to be talking with a feng shui expert that's going to be talking
Mhm.
about your home and your environment, and how through using feng shui you can help alter the energy in your home and make it more aligned for what's correct for you, which would be super important for reflectors or anybody that's like, especially undefined G centers, where
Mhm.
environment's really important. I'm excited to bring that episode out. We recorded it before Christmas, I think at the end of November, but wanted the time to be right. And I think January is a good time for that. So,
Yeah.
so your environment as a reflector is going to be really important. So if you happen to be listening to your reflector, make sure you check out that episode next week. So what I wanted to wrap up with was a fun intention setting idea that you came to me with, which was about, well, you explain it.
Yeah. So it was a Instagram post that I had seen that was basically like screenshots of probably a Tumblr post, but they were like
Is
fun
Tumblr a thing?
resolution. Yes, it's the thing. But
I
it's
didn't know it
like
was still a thing.
I don't think it's as big
It's
as the other
blogs,
ones,
right?
but yeah. But it was like the post started talking about how like everyone tries to do these resolutions that are like sucky. They just aren't fun. And so this one was like,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you do fun ones? And like one of the ones I saw, they were like someone's resolution intention, however we want to phrase it here, was every time they saw a new type of pasta, they would try it. Like they would buy it and they would try it. Or if someone saw like a new fruit that they had never tried, they would get it, they would try it, and then they would read about the fruit on like Wikipedia while they were eating it. So it was like these fun things. Someone posted that theirs was like, just wear more red. It's like,
Yeah,
just do
little
something
things.
that you just want to do. And so I pitched it to you and I was like, what about if we propose it for us and for people that listen as doing something that is kind of all about sparking joy either for yourself or for others. Like
Hmm.
just do it because you want to do it because it makes you happy.
Yeah. And when we first talked about this back in December, I was like, oh, okay, I'll think about it. And then as it got closer, I was like, have you pictures? You're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I got to think about it. And then yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know. Cause I got my brain stuck on the whole like pasta or fruit thing. And I'm like, what else could I possibly do? So I went to my friend Chat, I call my friend Chat GPT, and kind of fed him this idea of like what we were talking about, what we wanted to do. It was your idea and the whole spork joy thing and what could be some fun, different ideas along that lines of not like resolutions. So I had to give me a bunch. And so I thought I'd share because I didn't have that many creative ideas. So
Mhm.
there's a couple in here that I kind of like. And so I thought I'd just read them real quick.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Mhm.
In case you listening, want to maybe hook up on this idea along with all the other stuff we talked about for your type. But some fun little, not so heavy all the time, right? Like,
Mhm.
just have fun with it. So some of the things it came up with was visiting a local spot each month that you've never been to before, like a
Mm.
park, restaurant, quirky shops, it says. I was like, okay, that's an idea. There's lots of places here I have not visited. Don't know if I'll do that, but I like this one. Experiment with a new cuisine you never tried and learn to cook a dish from it.
Mm.
That could be hard. Yeah.
Or
There's not many
it could be
cuisines I
hard.
haven't
It could
tried.
also be very fun.
Could be. Let's see. Here's one. It's to start a mystery movie night where you let Haley or a friend pick the movie, no questions asked. I don't know. We try that like all the time in our house. Um, let's see. Let's see. Try a new coffee shop in every town you visit this year. Well, that's just something I'm gonna do, regardless.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah. This is something I could definitely do is read or listen to one book purely for fun, bonus points for dry humor or wry memoirs. But for me, it would be purely for fun because, like,
Mhm.
every book I read has some kind of self help aspect to it, as your husband, some
Yeah.
kind of productivity.
Mhm.
I don't read enough fiction.
I read only for fun.
I know. I'm gonna have to get you to do the opposite. I'm gonna be like, read this book, Haley. Like, because we
Uh,
talked about doing a book club, and I was like, that'd be fun. But then you were like, yeah, but I don't want to read books that are like not fiction.
and you're
I
like,
was
I
like,
don't really
I don't
want to
want to
read
read
fiction.
fiction.
Well, what
Okay.
our book club can have an option for a fiction and nonfiction each month.
I,
Anyways.
I'm reading some of these now, and they're hilarious. Attempt every yoga pose you've always avoided because it's not my thing. Chat, what are you talking about? It's not my
Snapchat.
thing. Commit to one totally impractical, joy filled hobby. It says like watercoloring, which is not impractical, or build. Now, this is impractical building miniature dioramas.
You're not doing that one.
No. Try your hand in a DIY project you've always thought looked fun, but too messy.
Mhm.
Let's see. Uh, Attempt to recreate old family recipe, share the results, even if it's a disaster. I like this one. Leave anonymous little joy notes for strangers in random places,
Mm.
like on napkins, park benches, things like that, etc.
Just don't
Um,
let her.
this one I really like. Write one snail mail letter a month to someone who
Mm.
inspires you, or just to someone. They don't have to inspire you.
That's fun.
We've lost the art of handwritten letter writing.
Mhm.
I think it picked up on your pasta thing because it says host a pasta party and ask everyone to bring their favorite type of pasta for a buffet style feast. Yum.
Yes.
Create a gratitude circle with friends or family where everyone shares one thing they're grateful for each month.
Mm.
Um, Organize a mini book exchange within your community or social circle. Uh, Take yourself to a movie solo. I know some people don't do that. I love to do that, but I don't do it
Mm.
anymore because I don't like going to movie theaters anymore.
I
Pandemic
always,
got that right out of my system.
yeah, I
That's
always, whenever Presley like will go out of town for work, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go see a movie, and then I'm like, no.
Last time I went, I just thoroughly didn't. I have the coziness of my home. You
Hmm.
know, I got a couch, I got my nice
Free
TV,
drinks.
free drinks. Like, the only thing I miss about a movie theater is the popcorn. I
Yeah.
mean,
But you even
you,
said last time it wasn't that good.
it was terrible. You can taste
Yeah.
how stale it is. Here's a good one. Schedule a monthly no screens day where you focus on nature,
Mm,
rest, and creativity.
it's a good one.
Mhm. Let's see. There's another one I've actually been thinking about doing is pull a single thinking of pull a single tarot card every week and journal how it might guide your intentions.
Oh.
Um, or it doesn't have to be a tarot card. It could be any kind of oracle cards. There's so many of them out there. Pretty. Just sit with it, journal on it. Um,
Mm.
let's see. Start a joy jar where you add a slip of paper each day with one thing that made you smile. That's a good one.
That's my I well that's not that's one I had on my list, but instead of every day it was one a week.
Yeah. I hope you
Mhm.
smile more than once a week.
Well, that was just something that the mine was similar. It's just something that good that happened or something you wanted to remember from each week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, or in the last one, I'll just share take yourself on solo soul dates to reconnect with what lights you up, which would be really good for a lot of the things that
Mm.
we were talking about today.
Yeah.
And whatever it is in that moment doesn't have to be same thing all the time. Some people are like, oh, I'm gonna take myself out to dinner every month or whatever. And that's in the I think it's the Artist's Way. Julia Cameron's book also talks about the creativity dates where you do just like take yourself somewhere that you want to go with no
Hmm.
one else, with no other intention than just like nourishing yourself and just doing what it is you want to do, kind of thing, which I think is a good
Hmm.
one. I would have no problem committing to that. It's like how I roll in general.
Yeah. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So, any of those? I think I I like the joy jar idea, but maybe not at paper, but maybe like a section in your phone or
Mhm.
it could be a jar. You can find a slip of paper and then uh because it would go back because gratitude's so important in
Mhm.
life and joy and reflecting on joy. We're so often focused on the negativity and not the positive.
Mhm.
So I think anything that helps you direct your attention to more joyful things would be good.
Mhm. Mhm.
So did you decide what yours was?
It's kind of two, but they're related to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanna try my hand at sewing my own clothes.
Okay. She lives in Colorado now, people.
So I had that, and then shortly after I had that idea, I had another one that was to kind of wear everything that I have in my closet slash like actually dress up each day. I mean,
Mm.
I work from home, so a lot of times I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like in sweats and a t-shirt.
I know.
But I'm like, well, I have all these nice clothes, and I a lot of times feel like more confident and like just better when I'm in my nice clothes, and like I feel like I look nice instead of just like comfortable, which I can be nice and comfortable. So that's like kind
Mm-hmm.
of how also sewing my own clothes fits in there too. But
Yeah.
yeah, so those are I think
Hmm.
those are the ones that I'm gonna rock with.
That's good.
Just yeah.
That's a good thing. I agree with you. Actually, when I was getting ready to record today, I was like thinking about how well, for one, I'm wearing this sweater that I haven't worn in over a year or so. Because I was like, oh, I haven't worn that sweater, and I was like, oh, something different to wear. Plus, it's warm.
Mhm.
But just the act of like, I put a little makeup on, even though you can't tell, maybe, and smooth my hair out just a little bit. I'm thinking, oh, it made me more conscious of like my appearance because I'm going to be on camera. But,
Mhm.
it's because it makes me feel better to be
Mhm.
like, I don't like looking like a hot mess out in the world. Some
Yeah,
people are comfortable with that. It doesn't make me feel
and that's
good.
fine.
No. But I do think the tarot thing, I've been really considering that because I do want to
Mhm.
make a deeper connection with the tarot cards and I have beautiful cards.
Mhm.
But yeah, so if you want to let us know what your intentions might be for the year, if any of those sparked any interest in you, we would love to hear it. Like I said, you can go over to Substack and let us know on the episode page over there. And really, that's it for today. As I was putting all this together, and I'm a little rusty because we haven't done it in a while. I didn't put together an incarnation cross. So I have decided I'm rolling with it. We're going to pick that back up with the February episodes. We're just going to, because next week's the guest episode. And then the week after that, I think it'll be towards the end of January already, and we'll be ready for another transit episode. So,
Yeah.
And then beyond that, just have to tune in and find out.
It's a surprise to us all.
I know. So we appreciate y'all being here today, listening to us. Really, once again, just go a little over long, but that's what the timestamps are for. You can decide what you want to listen to or not. If you want to hang out with us, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. I will never know if you listen to the whole thing or not. But anyways, my intention here is to keep showing up for y'all, keep being here for you, Haley, to keep sharing our thoughts, our ideas, our knowledge, building community with all of you. That's my intention for 2025, is to start really creating more of the hive here and the community aspect of it. So hold me to it.
Heck yeah.
Something that feels good. I'm not going to just talk about it anymore. We're going to do stuff this year. So that's my intention. So, Haley, I know you can't go anywhere because you got about 5 inches of snow outside. I'm not going out where that's the other side of this room here to get in front
You
of
got a
that
fire.
fire.
I'm jealous.
I know. But so tuck in for January, take your time, rest in the stillness. Make sure you come back next week to hear about feng shui with Brittany. And yeah, until then, bye for now.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.